Finding out the truth about my wife. Venting. We spent 2 years together in college and got married the fall after we graduated. Spent 2 years exploring our relationship and finally got settled down and was ready to raise a family. She got off birth control and her libido took off, but it took 3 years for us to get pregnant, but we got a beautiful girl finally. After a couple of months, my wife got back on birth control and had a hard time with it. Her doctor switched her meds several times, but she had bad side effects with each one. We talked about it and were unsure if we wanted another child, and since it was easier for me to get a vasectomy reversed later if we decided to have more children, I had the operation. That was 3 years ago, and after coming off birth control, my wife has felt better and sex has been worry-free since we can no longer get pregnant. We actually have sex more now than when we were in college. Then 3 weeks ago, my wife was late for her period, which isn't that unusual for her. Then I noticed her breasts were a little tender and she started what seemed like signs of morning sickness. Now I know there have been cases of nature-reversing vasectomies, so I went to the doctor and had my sperm count checked and the verdict was I'm still sterile, but I didn't tell my wife. My wife finally went to her doctor and confirmed she was pregnant, and so she had me go to my doctor to get tested. I didn't go right away because I was literally sick from the stress of the situation. I had all sorts of sick scenarios going through my head. In the end, I got retested and I took my daughter in and had a DNA test done. I got both test results back today and got violently ill after reading them. Yes, I'm sterile, and no, my daughter isn't mine. When my wife got home, I showed her my test and she denied any wrongdoing and saying that there was a problem with the test, and I showed her the test from last week and she broke down crying. I finally got it out of her who she had slept with and that it only happened once and the condom must have failed. I made her tell me the story 3 times, and each time I asked her if that was the whole truth and if there was anything else that she needed to tell me because another lie would mean we were through. She said that was the only time and she had never done anything like that before. I told her how much this hurt me and asked her how she could do this to our family and if it was worth it. I asked her if she wanted a divorce and she pleaded with me to forgive her and put this behind us. I said I couldn't raise someone else's child and asked her if she would be willing to terminate the pregnancy in order to stay together. She cried the rest of the night, but when we went to bed she said she would do whatever it took to save our marriage. I never brought up the DNA test. I will contact a lawyer next week to see what my options are about if I have to pay child support on our first child. If she had come clean about the father of our first child, I could have swallowed my pride and tried to work to forgive her, but she thought she was in the clear and didn't need to confess to anything else. No telling what I'll never know. Lawyer update. My lawyer is awesome. She had me bring in a bunch of paperwork, bank statements, and my medical and DNA results and had me tell her my story. Her assistant sat in with us and took notes while my lawyer went through my documents. After I finished, she asked a few questions and spelled out my options. I live in an at-fault state, which is good and bad. Good as in it gives us leverage, bad as it takes longer and much more expensive. In the case of the first child, if my wife agrees to sign the papers, my liability for child support is an easy fix. If she doesn't agree, then a court-ordered DNA test and a judgment from the court can remove me without my wife's consent. Either way, I will most likely not have to pay child support. One way is just more expensive than the other. Since my wife has a good job and earns close to what I do, she didn't think the judge would award her any alimony. And all of that plus dividing up property and other things can be negotiated before a judge gets involved. The bad news was due to the holidays. They couldn't have the papers ready before Christmas, but definitely would before the end of the year. She advised me to say nothing until she got served. She gave me a list of things to do before and after Christmas before they served my wife. One thing they did point out was since we were actively trying to have a baby, there was a possibility that my wife didn't know that the child wasn't mine. My wife has an appointment with her OB tomorrow. Update. Finding out the truth about my wife. Getting served. Coping. Original post. TL. DR. After having a vasectomy after our first child, my wife got pregnant 4 years later. I go to get tested to make sure I'm still sterile. I am. And not the father, and then decide to test our daughter, not mine. I had to wait till after Christmas to have her served. So I met my sister at my house and we started moving my stuff to her house while the divorce goes through, or at least until my STBXW leaves and I get possession of the house. We took 4 carloads to her house and came back for the rest. My sister felt it important for her to be there for support and as a witness. I also moved the nanny cam into the living room so it could record everything in the cloud. At about 10:45 a.m., I got a text from the lawyer saying she had been served. I sent her an email saying that I am at the house when she is ready to talk. A couple of minutes later, I got a text from my wife saying, "Why? Blah blah blah." So I resent the first text and waited for her to get home. She sent several texts and voicemails. They don't mention anything about cheating, just how she thought we were working this out and she thought we would sit down and have a conversation before proceeding with a divorce. Playing the family card and how this will devastate the child and our families. How she feels betrayed. That was a good one. She was still sharing her location, and it took her 20 minutes before she left work. She then stopped at a nearby Walgreens for a few minutes. The purpose of the stop at Walgreens became clear as a police car pulled in behind her in the driveway. According to the officers, she got the police there because she said she was afraid and that we had guns in the house. I showed the officers my empty gun safe and said that I had removed them to another secure location. We went back to the living room and I showed my wife the paternity test that I had done that showed her daughter was not mine. Her response was denial and disbelief, which appeared genuine. She broke down and cried for about 10 minutes. I told her this was the final straw and why I wanted the divorce. At about that time, the police officers reminded me to keep it civil and made their exit after I told them I was leaving soon to stay at my sister's house. When I asked who the child's father was, she claimed she didn't know. I asked if there were that many guys she was sleeping with or did she just not know his name. I asked how many times had she cheated on me between pregnancies. To which she said it was just the two of them. I told her that I had said earlier if she didn't tell the whole truth that I was done. I reminded her I also told her that I couldn't/wouldn't raise someone else's child, and that she had better figure out who the real father was because I wasn't paying child support for someone else's baby. She wanted to know what we were going to tell our daughter, and I said that was up to her because this was her mess and I wasn't taking the blame or cleaning it up for her. I drafted a couple of emails last week, one for our friends and family with copies of all the test results and reasons why I was asking for a divorce, the other for my wife with copies of the same tests along with what I knew and things that I had told her previously. I had to run it through my lawyer and make a couple of edits before she signed off on it. I sent copies to all our friends and relatives when she pulled into the driveway this afternoon. Most of the feedback has been one-sided and very colorful. In the end, I told her if she had been truthful we might have been able to work things out. But I couldn't trust a lying serial cheater, and I told her if she had gotten her tubes tied instead of me getting a vasectomy she might have got away with it, that I told her she needed to get a lawyer so we could move forward and start to heal. Update. We had our second meeting with the lawyers today and we signed off on almost everything except the house. Still waiting for an appraisal to come back and figure out the split. Motions got filed today and a court-ordered paternity test was scheduled for all three of us. Since STBXW didn't fight me on everything, we filed a no-fault divorce petition. If everything goes right, I get the house back on February 15th, and the divorce will be final on April 5th. The lawyers did a better job keeping us separated and the conversation between the two of us to a minimum. I was a little worried when she came in, pale and with no energy to speak of. I couldn't tell if it was lack of sleep or maybe over-medicated. She just stared out the windows as the lawyers read everything to us before we signed some of the papers. Walking out felt like I had shed a giant weight from around my neck. HR got me signed up for therapy tomorrow. My boss had put a bottle of champagne on my desk, offered me some time off if I needed it, but I told him I was excited to get back to work. Story 2. Did he have sex with her? Advice. Husband of 30 years worked out of town for 6 months, helping to build a hospital. Together we found an Airbnb for him, a rented room in a much older woman's home. I was okay with it. He and another married guy from work started going to a bar near the hospital. Other guy was staying in his own small trailer. They both hated going back to sit alone in small quarters. I was somewhat okay with it. I mean, he shouldn't have to work all day then go sit alone in a room. He called every evening after getting home from the bar. I felt things were good. He flew home 3 times and we had great visits. After 5 months, he tells me he's recently found roaches at the Airbnb and he now has to share his bathroom with 2 new renters. His coworker knows someone who will rent him another room. When I ask questions, he says he doesn't have any details until move-in day, August 1st. I call him on the 1st to see how the move has gone. He says great. I push to find out the situation. He finally says it's in a trailer. Alone or roommate, I ask. After much pushing, he admits it's with a bartender from the bar. He realizes I'm going to put him on the spot until I get all the details. He finally says she's a single woman his age and she has worked there for 2 years. So obviously he has known her for months, yet never once mentioned her even though he had told me about other patrons and PPL who worked there. He sounds very drunk as he admits all this to me. I tell him this is completely inappropriate and to please leave and get a motel room now.
I'm heartbroken.
He begs off saying it's far too expensive, the woman means nothing and he loves me. He tells me later she was at work when he got there and he left early for work when she was still sleeping, that they never even saw each other. Plus he was so drunk I doubt anything could have happened. He stays 2 more nights until I book him a motel room for the rest of his stay, which was 2 weeks. He actually thanks me as he said he had no idea I would be so upset, that he should have told me his plans. He said he stayed away from the bar after that, and as we shared locations on our phones I tracked that he was always at the motel after work. I never had any reason to distrust him before and had never used the tracker, but thank goodness we had added that feature. When the job wrapped up and he flew home 2 weeks later, he immediately said that he would see a marriage counselor. He admitted in therapy that he had met this bartender the first day he was in town and went to the bar. He realizes he had a drinking problem by going there every day after work. He admitted they had made plans for him to move in weeks before he did. Again, he said he really was trying to save money as she offered a room at a very low price. When the therapist pushed on why he had never mentioned her, he said he just didn't think of it. It's now 8 months later. He has retired at 58 years old and chooses not to go out without me. I get flowers and love notes. He seems genuinely full of remorse for being stupid and lying to me. Of course, he swears nothing happened and that they weren't interested in each other. Am I the one who is stupid for staying with him? I still have zero trust in that I know the most of the truth and I'm traumatized by the lies and the fact he knew I was so hurt yet stayed those 2 nights. He definitely micro-cheated, but am I naive to believe he didn't have sex with her? Story 3. My 3YGF cheated on me. Struggling. Hi, I'm 25M. My girlfriend, 22F. We are loving for 2021 to 2024. It's all started when I confessed my love for her when she was in a breakup phase. It was COVID lockdown, everything went well, the things she said that I was her whole world and she can't live without me. I trusted everything she said and everything was going well. She was studying in college. After 4 or 5 months, the colleges have opened. She was studying in one there. She saw her ex and having some confusing feeling with him and I thought, okay, it's just normal to let go off someone, and I gave my full attention, time, and care to get her of the feeling I would see her every day so that she can be free and loving me more, and everything was okay for a bit. Then comes the part she was working in Inter for some days there, one person she speaking to him when she was with me, and this happens twice in the same day. I feel like worthless that day, and she somehow managed to convince me I accepted and we move forward. Again, she has some confusing feeling with her friends. I was always ready for taking her out, giving the love as much as she need. I was acting like a friend to her and also a lover. But she wants to go out and spend time alone with her male friends. I spoke to her and she was okay with it, but during our relationship she gone out with them without my knowledge. This is absolute shit. If I think of that, then comes something. She goes to her hometown and be there for some day and spend time with her relatives there. Her relative, a boy who is spending a lot of time with her. One day they go out for night out and another time they both kissed. With how she reacted with me, I think they fucked. She said it was hormonal rush. She kissed him, but she never accepted her fault. In our relationship, she mostly make me insecure with her male friends. Now come to kissing part. She didn't say any apology. She tried to convince me it's an hormone rush, not her mistake. It happened 3 days before. I blocked her on everything. I uninstalled my social media, but I have this urge that she will come and say sorry for all happened. Because I did a lot in 3Y. Mostly I spend my time to her than me. I did everything for her nook and cranny. While she was confessing her kiss, I asked about the day when we are together. And when I helped for her major dance recital, she said was, "Thank you. Is that what I deserve?" I become a fool of her lies and worthless because giving my love to her. The thought have been giving me hard time last 3 days. I don't know. While we're in the good days of the relationship, she said she wants to marry me. I can't marry her because I don't have job to provide for her. I think that I resisted marriage for so long so that she cheated on me. I don't know what could have been done and what has happened, but I feel like worthless. The images of her with other person mostly eating me off. My mood is ruining because of the thank you she said for the things. That's all. It was disappointed face during the good times of the relationship. She had said to me that she wanted to marry me. Please marry her quick. I don't have a job, I want to make sure to provide a proper home. This comes to my mind and keeps saying me that it's my fault what I can do. I spent my whole 3 Y of my life for her. It feels like my fault and I feel worthless. Someone help me. Story 4. My husband cheated on me postpartum. How to get over it. Venting. My husband cheated on me with his coworker for 3 weeks straight without me knowing. At the time, our daughter was around 2 months. We've been together for 5 years. He did the worst of cheating. Had sex with her. And not only that, but gained real feelings for her. He was considering keeping both of us. After I found out, my husband wanted to work things out and stop talking to the other girl. We also are in marriage counseling. He said he cheated on me because I've been disrespectful. I have had psychotic meltdowns that he couldn't handle, and he lost emotional connection with me after our daughter was born. Now, 2 months later after his infidelity, we are still struggling. Usually when someone cheats and wants to be forgiven, they beg for you, buy gifts, try to please you, do anything to make you satisfied. However, he's not like that. When I asked him for flowers, he said he'll buy it whenever he feels like it. When I ask for a hug, he's like, I'm too comfortable where I'm at right now. There are other things, but because of his responses, I mention the past so much and follow it up with insults, he ends up getting hurt and makes himself close off. So I tried not to pick arguments with him anymore, and now I see he is slowly trying to make up for what he did, like give me voluntary hugs, etc. He said he's scared to be himself with me, so he keeps his guard up to protect himself from getting hurt. So that's why I stopped arguing. This has to do with patience from my end. Last night, he said he just sees me as a friend, but he's trying to build that romance love he had for me in the past. I have to add, he's a really good person, he provides for us financially, and I do trust that he won't do it again. I'm just so hurt that he was able to cheat on me. I thought we had this rare type of love. I feel like we will be okay with our marriage as long as I am okay, and as long as I behave, which feels kind of unfair. But I notice when I'm super nice and good, he's more receptive. But I am adding this on because things just don't feel the same anymore. Things used to feel so loose and fun. But now we both are kind of awkward and scared of each other. I'm just so disappointed in us. And I keep on checking his phone. I feel like I literally can't be myself because he doesn't deserve that side of me. Do things get better? Will I eventually be myself around him? Also, how do I stop thinking about his coworker? I keep thinking about the betrayal and how he was able to pursue her with me and our daughter on the side. It hurts so damn much.